Welcome, my friends and classic space Lego fans. This is a momentous occasion for the channel as I fumble one of the figures here, but it is just awesome. So number one, I want to thank you for joining me on my classic space collecting journey. Want to thank my parents for keeping my collection intact. I've been going through it over the last year or two since I started the channel. That was one of the reasons I started the channel, was that I brought my collection back from my parents' home. I only built kind of during, I was a completely dark age until I had kids, but I would build on occasion. Usually it was always Christmas vacation, come home. You always have like at least a week, and in many cases, especially when my nephews were there, we would go down in the basement and I would build. And sometimes I'd be down there all night, get my Lego fix, and then go home, and then I wouldn't build. And now I was in my dark ages for a long time, but no longer. I am been out of my dark ages for about, gosh, has it really been like 4 years? I think it was 2008. Oh, five years now that I've been collecting. I started watching YouTube. Then I started buying and building and finding deals, bringing home my collection, and now this is a momentous occasion. So again, thank you, especially Ben Brick Designs, for voting for Classic Space. I'm doing a little bit of a pause. We'll do a little bit of Star Wars here and there. At least I'm hearing there's an Andor trailer coming soon, and so I have an Andor set that I have to crack into. There's a Blacktron set to crack into. There's a lot of other things. Plus, I'm reactivating my Star Wars MOCs. The Darth Vader's castle, then also the Tatooine MOC is being activated. So stay tuned. But in the meantime, my plan is, and I started the process. We built the Galaxy Trekker the other day, so I'm going to be kind of keep those built, and then I'll display it kind of at the end where I'm at. One of the things I may do, while I know I haven't purchased every single set. I don't have that as a kid. It's not like I had every set growing up. I do remember, so again, I do have, as you can tell, a ton of figures. A pretty good. And so I've had these in my collection since the 80s. So these have been played with. Many of them are starting to fade out, but some of them are still in pretty good pretty decent collection condition. A couple of these, some of them are new. You can see I don't have every color. I think I have a gray spaceman somewhere, but I haven't been able to find them. I do know some of the sets that I had at least the gray air tank, I should say. And it just it's been, so I definitely have a ton of sets. I'm sure I had, who knows if I got one of the space minifigure packs. There were a few of those at the time. And just kind of going through my collection, all the way to the most, the Lego Star Wars, the Lego movie kind of reactivated the fandom in classic space. This with Benny and Lenny, is it, that paid homage to the great classic space. This one I think is very similar. If I look it up, I think this is meant to mimic the Space Scooter, which was originally set 885, and now they kind of recolored it, used some modern parts, which is kind of fun. Like, these slopes weren't available, this wasn't here. They brought this back because you didn't really see much of that. Like, a lot of these parts were not really available, so it's a pretty cool reconcepting of that part. Then the only sad part is that as I broke up my collection and kind of divvied that up, I had to give some to my sister, who turned it over to my nephew. So some of my Blacktron collection is missing. I had the Renegade, which is now the cruiser, the Blacktron cruiser. Then I think it was called the Trax, was another vehicle that I had, so I had to give that one up. So I'm short two vehicles. And I don't think, and I did have some M-Tron. There's an M-Tron guy here, M-Tron guy here. I have been, I have some of the more modern ones. I've been kind of collecting some of the CMFs. I'm missing a handful of figures here and there. I did get the Bounty Hunter at the time. I remember I grabbed him. I have a decent amount of Blacktron, both the Phase 1 and Phase 2. Space Police, Aliens. Now, what was really, really interesting is recently, if you check out the videos that have the old crusty Legos, that was like the UFO and the Mars collection. So that 1998 to early 2000s, there was a whole bunch of stuff in there. I wonder if, do I have an example? Yeah, I do. So there was these guys right here. They almost look like the Pike Syndicate, like right there. So hopefully you can see that. Like really cool figures. I'll leave these out. There was a bunch of those. There was 3 of them that I was able to get. I'm gonna keep these guys. I think it's you never know. These could become valuable at some point. That was such a great collection, and there's some really cool parts. I think one of them was the Alpha series, the Underwater Alpha something. I'm probably butchering it right now, but it was the there's an underwater like city like base, something. I think it was an underwater alpha base or something like that, and it had some really, really cool parts. A lot of them were very space, kind of that classic space and stuff like that. So I'll be kind of, I have to continue to clean and get those kind of prepped and set up. So I've been check out. There's one more, there'll be at least one, maybe even 2 more videos coming up where I'm kind of going through those types of parts. But back to the plan for Classic Space. I'm going to be, one thing I may do is using the parts I have is go through like the space. I did not have the early Galaxy Explorer. I'm pretty sure one of my friends had the Galaxy Explorer. I may have had it at one point. I don't remember or not. I didn't hear. I know, like one of those things as a kid is that you kind of swap parts, or sometimes you would bring over ships and then you might accidentally leave one, or other people would leave stuff in your collection. So I do have some mixing of some certain parts, especially with space. My friends were really into Castle. They were really into Classic Space. I did a lot of building with other kids. It was really a fun time. In fact, one of the early memories that I have was just building a massive space city. And we built these full towers. And I remember we built it with some of his brothers. And then he rigged the tower that we built in the middle to, because he got really mad at him one time. And we rigged the tower to the door handle. So when he liked to kind of kick doors open. So when he kicked the door open, it like took out his entire tower and all the work that he had done. So pretty fun memories of Classic Space back in the day. And we used to design really crazy ships. It was at the time, I remember the movie Alien and then Aliens came out. And so he designed all these mechs in Classic Space that we had a lot of fun with. So going back to the plans, I'm thinking of going back and maybe building as close as I can some of the older sets. I don't have all of the parts, but I do have a good number of them. I do remember sets like, I'm thinking most of my purchasing probably happened in so I was born in 76. Most of my building was probably in the early 80s into late 80s for Classic Space. Like I do remember things like the radar truck and the space buggy. I don't remember seeing any of the instructions. It's possible that those are long gone at this point. I do totally remember the mobile rocket launcher. I don't know if that was retired and I just remember it. Maybe it was reconcepted and brought back at another point. I do have the Spybot. That one was 1987, so I would have been like 11 years old at the time. So I will try to build this. There are a few of the hinge parts that I can't find. That's just going to be part of the drill here, is that there's going to be parts that I'm not going to have. Yeah, going through here, the twin Starfire, I remember that was maybe one of my first big ship sets, which is very possible. I definitely have that. And then kind of, the other piece that I should mention that, and I know this is something you do see, and sometimes these can be in pretty bad shape, but I have in pretty good shape two of the lunar plates. They may have come with sets, but they may have been purchased separately. I have no idea. I don't really remember. So I have a bunch of those. Let's see, what else do I have here? Let's take a look. Oh, check this out. I think you may appreciate this. Blacktron fans may like the lunar plates that I have. These are base. They do have one of the Blacktron. I remember my brother and I, we were buying a lot of the Blacktron. I do have quite a few gray plates. I do remember, I'm pretty sure these were part of the space sets at one point. These types of, man, look at how it's a different color gray. These are from the 80s. That's how it's working, man. I think that's it. Most of the other stuff is from town. Some of these other base plates. But this one may have been space. This one right here. But all really cool stuff. I'm really pumped about building back on maybe some of these base plates. I don't really have room right now to display, so I'm going to avoid doing any sort of like big display, but that's kind of, this is how I store my plates. We have one of the Lego bins right down here. Oh man. Just like that. So it is going to be a blast. The idea is, for now, I don't really have any mock ideas. But again, I'm going to try to build as many of these sets as I can, as close as I can to the original. I really look forward to, at some point, I'm going to continue to kind of keep my eye out. The current Galaxy Explorer, the one that's on the market, I did not purchase. My budget is very focused on Star Wars, and I have a lot of classic space today, so I don't feel the need to buy a lot of classic space. I need to utilize the sets that I have currently, and then obviously I'm always bringing in modern parts. One thing I do have is the Futron monorail that I'm really excited. That'll be the finale build as I kind of complete this out and put it together. Maybe I'll create like a little scene temporarily before I can break it down and go back full time into Star Wars. So again, I really appreciate everybody joining me on this journey. My parents for keeping my collection as intact as possible. I mean, it's just amazing that I have all of this here. It's amazing that you're here with me on this journey. Make sure to like, if you like classic space, now is the time to like and subscribe. If you're interested in classic space and you're like, hey, how do I purchase? I don't have sets today and I want to buy the old stuff. It's getting kind of expensive. Sorry. But one of the ways you can purchase and support the channel at the same time is down below. Use my Mercari link, and you can, when you sign up, you get a credit towards your first purchase. If you sell some of your other random stuff around the house, I do that all the time. I try to sell between $200 to $600 per year in Mercari so that I can use credit towards buying the figures or other sets. In fact, I bought the Blacktron Cruiser because I missed the gift with purchase purely on my Mercari credit. So you can too. And again, I appreciate all the support. Thank you, everybody. It's been awesome. You're awesome. And we'll catch you on the next space building experience. Let's go. Bye for now.